do the wall. Not only just play the wall, but do the wall.
Well, we actually started Rob and I had a bunch of Floyd songs that we used to do acoustically, and we started playing them with our new band, working some rock Pink Floyd songs, and a couple from The Wall, a few from Dark Side of the Moon, and we got this crazy notion, hey, let's do like a classic albums live type thing. We used to go see these shows down at the Hard Rock where these bands would put together note for note classic albums and recreate them, on stage, and they were just amazing. And we thought, hey, that would be great. We got the theater here. Let's see if we can recruit some other band members to do that. And that's what we started off at. Actually, Dark Side of the Moon was what we were trying to do, and then we got Dalton in the band, and he convinced us to, with his stage play and everything else, to switch it over to The Wall. So that's how we ended up with The Wall.
Well, thematically speaking, The Wall, all of Pink Floyd really speaks to me because they're one of those 70s anthem bands that was all about thematics. Every album's a concept album, even if it isn't as obvious as like The Wall where they have a stage show. But every album has a really heavy theme to it. And it's not just the typical rock fare, the happy sex, drugs, and rock and roll. It's all about the inward personal experience. And it really, really comes out in The Wall, how you build this big wall. It's about alienation and fear and panic and all these fears that get put inside you as you grow older, and when you become an adult, they come to life. Maybe not literally with a wall, but figuratively.
What basically I did on this is that I got a great script and an incredibly talented bunch of musicians together. We brought in dancers, special effects, light effects, multimedia, choreography, and theatrical performances, and an incredible sound system and great technicians. And we put on what I have literally been told is that outside of a direct Pink Floyd show, the best Pink Floyd show there is.
You were held prisoner in a basement, and now you're free. Now you have a sunroof in your, basement apartment.
How did you evolve to doing The Wall?
Well, we were kind of just playing, some classic rock, 60s and 70s stuff, playing at a couple bars, getting together every week, just jamming, drinking beers, the fun stuff. So we started sounding pretty good, and we were just kind of playing that kind of music, and then the guys really got into playing more Pink Floyd because it was just so much fun to play. And then it kind of just developed into, hey, let's just do the whole Wall album. And then that turned into, what if we do the whole Wall album on the Athens Theater? So that's kind of how that got together.
We were just a group of friends who played music together, for the last, some of us together for the last 10 years. And we ended up getting a lot of Pink Floyd on our set lists at one time, and we toyed with the idea of putting on an actual show, which started surprisingly with Dark Side of the Moon. But the more we started to play the album and the more we started to listen to Floyd, the more we realized that The Wall was really the perfect kind of production to do in a theater, to be able to make it a full theatrical experience rather than just a concert.
We're putting on a rally, a show, that's so relevant to, of course, the day after the election right now. So relevant that there's all this is going on, and that, I don't know, it's just so, we're putting on this production that has a lot of different meanings, and there's so many theatrical elements that are relevant to today's economic climate and what everyone's like fearing, and it's just so nice to be able to put on something that can poke a little fun at it and just have an awesome music experience. That's what we're doing this weekend.
What kind of hurdles did you have to go through to be able to make sure that you're your best to do this performance?
Because I'm an improvised player. I like to, for me, I like improvising, so just getting in and going with the jam and just having it come from feeling, because that's how I started playing the drums. And so that's how Rob Bram and I used to, we were in a band until we got into the Surrogate band, and we used to play in that kind of stuff, and so it's fun. I like it, but that was the biggest challenge for me, is to be structured with this type of music, Nick Mason is really, he's very simple, but it's, you know, he's perfect for the music. And so for me, it's he's not overplaying it. You know, it's so trying to stay within his format has been the biggest challenge for me. That and just remembering all his different fills, because I don't read music like these guys do.
Stranger in this town, where are all the good times? Who's gonna show this stranger around?
So what are you excited about for this movie?
I'm excited to play. This tech week has been you know, a lot of starts and stops, so you don't get to play. I like to be uninterrupted and play through the whole thing, and this is a challenge here, because as you'll see tonight when you're here with us, it's frustrating.
So
But it's not just a concert, you know. We're doing a whole stage show. We're actually trying to tell the story of the movie, which is a very complicated, convoluted, back and forth, almost like Quentin Tarantino kind of thing, because it loops around on itself, and it's so it's a big undertaking. But it's been an evolution, definitely, because we had some thoughts in our mind how to do it, and then we settled on building them out of boxes instead of, you know, windscreen material. We had how we were talking about foam at one point, and this is the most economical and actually looks great from the seats.
So what got you interested in this one, like interested particularly in doing this?
In particular, in doing this, it pretty much has to go with the band. They had such a solid, tight sound that I knew that a great concert could be made from just what the band could play alone. And then anything else that could be brought to it would be additional flourish and flair, which would enrich the overall experience.
And yeah, you'll basically say it as you're working on it. Russell will cross, wrong, do it again.
Knowledge will start coming out, and I'm going to come in front of him and say, "Time
We
to go."
know we needed a wall from the start. We had to have a wall, or it wouldn't be Pink Floyd's wall. So we had about 100 different ridiculous concepts of how to build a wall. We were going to have a scrim. It was going to be on a screen. We were going to use foam blocks, and then one day I think Kevin just Googled cardboard boxes and said, "These are really cheap, and we can get like 800 of them." So it ended up being white cardboard boxes.
So where did you pull inspiration to help with this stage show and setting everything up and making sure everything is together?
Well, actually, in some elements, I actually relied on my low-budget filmmaking experiences, where we'd show up with, you know, a flashlight and 3 candles and be told to light an entire stadium. We knew we didn't have a lot of money when we were doing this, but we had a lot of passion, and we had a lot of really great support from friends and family. So I was able to combine all those elements together and come up with the flourishes and still keep it sort of minimalistic, which I think works well for the material itself.
You're a very unbelievably talented bunch. Just find those specific moments, and that'll make it great. When the singing is done, Pink is going to wander off, and then everybody will just wander off after him.
I can't wait to see how the audience reacts to this, because this album is almost 40 years old, and a lot of people have grown up with it for years. And I can't wait for all the people that never got a chance to see it live in 1980 when they did the tour to see something not even close, but very cool in their hometown, and see a show that they're not even expecting at the Athens Theater. And this is musical theater here, but we're putting on this rock opera with all this technology and the wall and a huge band. It's gonna blow them away. I can't wait to see that.
What have you seen as the biggest hurdle of actually getting this on stage?
The music. It's taken us 2 years to learn this album, note for note, and that's just because we all work full time. So we're only able to practice one night a week. Usually we got to go home and learn the parts on our own, and then we have families to tend to and everything else. So it's difficult. But yeah, the music's definitely the hardest part about this whole thing. Now, after spending some time on stage this week, this stage play is not anything to scoff at either. There's a lot of people involved. There's a lot of building, a lot of production involved here that I'm a musician, I'm not a theater actor, so I'm out of my element here actually.
The production that we have today is the culmination of a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, literally. We struggled with a lot of the logistics. I mean, as an idea in your head, you think the wall, great, good show. That's, I get it. You can put on the full theatrical experience. But the logistics are a real killer when you're trying to figure out how to make this wall on a stage that's going to fall when you have a bunch of actors on the stage and you don't want them to get maimed or injured in any way. So luckily, after a few different ideas and looking at what was most cost effective, we found pieces of a wall that look like a real wall. Things just started coming together to make this show bigger and better, and each little idea is, oh yeah, that'll be great. Oh yeah, that'll be great. And so piece by piece, it became an even better idea. We thought it was a good idea, and then it became a better idea, and then it was like, wow, this is a great idea, So it's a big labor of love, but heavy emphasis on the labor and heavy emphasis on the love. Our biggest hurdle getting this production to be on the stage is all of the technical aspects that are involved in this kind of a show. You don't realize how much goes into every little piece in a show like this. In terms of, the actors having to have specific movements and their choreography being very limited in terms of not touching these walls that could fall down on them. And our equipment, we have an incredible amount of equipment. This theater has 32 channels for inputs, and it has never needed to use, anywhere near that, and we're at max. We're maxing out the inputs in this theater. So the technical aspects were our biggest hurdle, trying to get all of the little logistical pieces to come together and make it look seamless.
And just when we get together, we just have so much fun and just kind of syncs up. So it was just fun music. I couldn't deny it.
Goodbye, all you people.
Everyone kind of when they were putting this together and stuff, everyone had different thoughts to actually get it on stage. What kind of things did you contribute, do you think, to the performance?
Nothing. I just played the drums. That's pretty much it. That, and I was able to move a lot of the equipment. I stored the wall at my house, and I was bossy.
Isn't that usually how it is? Isn't the person who's the drummer is whoever has the truck?
Well, pretty much, yeah. I had a trailer, and of course these guys,
It was only a fantasy. The wall was too high, as you can see.
When I first started with this project, I was just going to be the bass player, and then we started realizing that we were each going to have to add vocally, and then it became apparent that we were going to need sample tracks and backing tracks and programmed keyboards and stuff like that too. And I've got a little bit of experience with that, so it was a bit of a challenge actually getting up to speed, learning all the parts, because I actually programmed some of the songs and some of the backing tracks. That was probably the tough part, yeah.
All my friends and family are coming to this, and so I'm pumped up. I live in this town, and this couldn't be cooler for me.
So going with the theme of the wall, it's speaking about alienation and fear. So what's your fear about putting together?
That the wall falls down at the beginning of the show. No, the biggest fear, I think, is that you don't put on the best show that you possibly can. Problems happen in live theater, and that's the part of the fun aspect of live theater, is that problems do happen. You have to roll with those punches. If you're working in film or anything like that, you can edit and stop and break. So working in live theater is very different. So I guess you just fear that you're not going to put out the best possible product that you can, especially after you've put so much into it. And the people are only getting to see you for an hour and a half. And that's after years of what you've put into it. So you want to make sure that that hour and a half represents the best parts of those 2 years you've spent. That's the biggest fear. You know, things will go wrong and things might happen, but you can still have a great show. It's just if you know that you didn't give the best that you could, or the whole group didn't give the best that they could, I think that's the biggest fear.
That it's not going to go smoothly. That's my fear. That's my fear. But I think that as far as the music-wise, we have it. The band is solid. Like I said, I've never been a part of any sort of theatrical production, so my fear is I really don't know what the hell's going to happen. I don't know what's going on. I don't really know how these type of things flow, and so yeah, I'm a little nervous.
My biggest fear, again, because this is volunteers, and it was creating a metric that would allow everybody to get into the show and still have something that was more than just standing on stage. I had the whole show mapped out. But this phenomenal group of people, I was able to add flourishes and additional things because nobody ever said no to me. They're like, sure, I'll do it, or I'll try and do it. And that flexibility is what made it possible. That was the scariest thing. If we would be able to pull off something this big, it was rough. Because like you said, we only had 4 nights of rehearsal, but everyone made it really easy because of their enthusiasm and willingness to do anything.
You know if they're pushing the wall back in front of the back. From the back. From the back. Pushing it, and you're pushing it towards the stage.
The theme of the wall, you know, thinking about alienation and fear. What's your fear? What are you most terrified of right now about like the next 5 days?
Oh, the next one? I don't know, really. Truth be told is I've never been in a show, I've never been in a gig or a band that didn't have some kind of technical glitch. So you just have to kind of roll with it and have fun. And I think my biggest, I guess I don't want to jinx, maybe knock on wood, but I don't want the wall falling in prematurely. Truth, you know? If we can avoid that, I think everything will be cool. Granted, I mean, you never know, but yeah, the wall. Hopefully it stays. Yeah, so.
My son's in it with me. This is my hometown. I mean, I got all my friends and family coming. I'm pumped up, man. It's the first for me. You know what I'm saying? So I love it. I'm excited.
It's a team effort. Yeah, we're like a tightly knit team, and I think at this point, it's really just a way. It's kind of like the finish line. We oftentimes bands get together and they don't really have any focus or determination or whatever. And we had a goal in mind, and this is the end line. And so yeah, I think that's what it is. It's just the culmination of all the efforts, you know.
When approaching the show is I always had a way that the show could work, bare minimum, where people could just come on stage and do basic movements. And having that kind of foundation and prep work that allows me the freedom, if I have the opportunity and the talent to do it, to do additional things above and beyond that. And that's why this show, I think, is as good as it is. We could have had a really solid show with none of the incredible performances we've got. But because I had such a great crew, I was able to say, can you give me this little bit more? We have a great show, but this will make it just a little bit better here and there. And I was able to do that, again, with the cooperation of everybody and knowing that we had a solid show before we even hit the stage. That's the comforting thing. We had a really solid show before we hit the stage. Once we got here, we had the freedom to be creative and have fun with it.
This show has been 2 years in the making. So I think we're most excited just to do it. You know, we've been rehearsing and getting together once or twice a week for the last 2 years. So we've become a really close-knit family in Pink Floyd. And having this be the culmination of all of that, having get to this final weekend where here we are after 2 years, we're putting on the show we've been preparing for, that's exciting in and of itself, just to know you're at that end mark, that finish line, so to speak, you know, and it'll be bittersweet because then it's over and it's like saying goodbye to a family, you know, but we're looking on to other projects that this has inspired. So it's been a great experience bringing us together and giving us ideas and visions for the future and seeing what is possible. If we can do the wall, you can do anything.
Who is she? She was Miss Army Division in 1961, and she was still crawling.
She's a waitress now. She's not that racist. How'd you get to meet her?
Well, when I saw she back there a few years ago, she was going to